Hi, welcome back to my subpar YouTube channel, everyone. I don't have an intro. I probably never will. It's been a while since I've tried to make a video. I've had this going in my head for a while, and I decided to just give it a go today. I'm so uncomfortable. This is like a really, this is going to be some pretty like heavy subject matter for me today, so please bear with my anxiety throughout this. There's going to be a lot of awkward pauses and times where I just completely tune out for a second, but what I'm here to talk about today is just kind of building on like the theme of autism that I have been sticking with so far in this channel. This particular video is going to be kind of like a brief, well, it's probably going to be like 10 minutes actually, but some kind of summary of my diagnosis story, kind of adult Aspergers syndrome. So I'm 23 right now, and I was 22 when I was diagnosed, so this is not very long ago. It's kind of a new thing, the diagnosis at least. That happened a little over a year ago when I was in the hospital. I was actually very sick at the time. I need to look at my notes. I've made some notes here. So that's actually kind of the middle point of the story, is me going to the hospital and getting diagnosed. This whole thing actually started for me like maybe 3 years ago when I came across a YouTube video actually about autism in females, and just upon seeing like the thumbnail and the title of the video, and I watched it, but as soon as I saw it, I like very quickly realized that I hadn't heard much, if anything, about autism in females, because the picture that we have of an autistic person is 9 times out of 10 male, and there's definitely a stereotype. So I was intrigued by just the fact that I hadn't like heard of it at all, let alone thought it could like relate to me. But yeah, I was kind of enamored by how I felt after watching that, and it prompted me to do my own research on the subject, just to make sure that I was like informed, because I didn't feel like that like little 5-minute video was, you know, enough for me at least. And I've been previously diagnosed ever since I was 14 or so with like various anxiety and depression disorders, conditions, whatever. So there's kind of been like overlapping stuff in my life, without getting into that. But this kind of hit different because it wasn't like it was all new information. Like people these days know a lot about anxiety and depression, so of course that's what was talked about when I was seeking professional help at a young age. I'm starting to get choked up already. Let me look at this now. So yeah, it started just with my own research, because I went through I went through my whole life without any like professional of any kind even suspecting that I could be on the spectrum. So yeah, I was 22 by the time I actually had the chance to like, it was me who used the word autism. I went to a doctor for, like, unrelated reasons, a psychiatrist, which is not an easy thing to access. So, you know, while I had them there, like about 2 years after I'd started doing this research, I just took that opportunity to mention the word autism, in that I said, I think sometimes I wonder if I have it, or something like that. And so by the time I was 22, I was already well into my adulthood. I was over 18, so that warranted an adult Asperger's assessment, which is significantly more complicated than diagnosing autism in childhood. I'm just reading my notes. Yeah, so Asperger's it used to be considered its own thing. Like, it used to be considered an independent, like clinically independent disorder in the diagnostic manual for, you know, assessing all this stuff. But in the DSM, that's what the thing is called, diagnostic manual, DSM-5, which is where that was at when I was 22 and being assessed, they've actually changed it. They put Asperger's as like a subcategory of autism, so it got like a little bit more complicated even so by that. So like after like about probably 10 hours of really extensive testing, the doctors were finally able to see where I would be on the spectrum, if I was on it, which I am, and the results were that I would be somewhere between mild to moderate autistic. So that translates to Asperger's, which is also called like high functioning autism. And I want to talk about the term high functioning. So usually when people say high functioning, they mean just camouflaged symptoms, like under the radar and like easy to miss, which is exactly why I went 2 decades of my life without anyone even, you know, like suspecting it. But being high functioning, of course, doesn't make you any less autistic. It's just that much easier to miss. So there's that, and that's pretty much like the bulk of it, I guess. That's my story. And the reason that I'm making these videos is that if there's even the slightest chance that somebody out there will find this and have that aha moment like I did with that other video that started all this for me, like, I feel obligated to speak out, because clearly there is a huge demographic of people, like young adult women, who are being totally overlooked, and it's severely, like, drastically altering lives. Like, if I had known this 10 years ago even, my life would be so much different. I'm okay with the way that it is now, for the record, but in terms of resources that are available, I think most professionals would agree that it's scarce. After you're into adulthood, over 18, there's not as much available at all. And, you know, it just, people deserve support. The diagnosis has helped me in terms of what's available for support, and just in understanding what I'm going through, like on a very personal level. Like, I know why things happen the way that they do in my life. And I just kind of wish it wasn't so much of a backtracking thing. And it's not that more people have autism now than they did before, it's just that we're talking about it more, and I want to be loud about that, and this is the best way I can think to do that. So, yeah, there's obviously a stigma, and there's obviously a lack of understanding of what this is. Particularly that autism is neurological, not psychological. And everything else that was found by doctors, for me, before